We began to support missions over there that were rescuing kids from human trafficking, educating kids, feeding and clothing kids in these orphanages and these safe houses once they've been rescued from human trafficking. But not only that, Claude, also teaching them a skill.
Welcome to Thought Talk, Positivity in Motion. Hosted by best-selling author, speaker, and coach C. Ray Collins.
Communication is still a very important key, and making it positive is something that we don't do enough of.
C. Ray visits with members of our communities and leaders of local businesses on how they share a positive message during difficult and good times. And now, here's C. Ray.
Welcome to Thought Talk. It's Positivity in Motion, and today I have a guest. His name is Michael D. Butler. He's CEO of Beyond Publishing Global and also Global Elite Speakers Bureau. And Michael, I appreciate you being here.
Thanks for inviting me to the show.
Yeah.
Congrats on Thought Talk. You're doing a great job.
Yeah. So, everything here is about positive things. And what you do, you help people fulfill their dreams. So to me, that's a very positive. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, you're exactly right. A lot of people thought that the internet killed publishing or that Amazon somehow killed publishing. But readership is up globally. And people are reading books now more than ever. So I find a lot of passion and joy in what I do. I was a minister and a pastor for 14 years, and I evolved into this space through a series of events. And it's been a fun journey. I got to tell you, we have some, just like your story, it's interesting stories. You find people all over the globe. We have authors on 12 countries now.
Wow. And
we have some pretty amazing stories. Yeah.
So I know you have in the past. I know things have been a little slower this year, but you speak all over the country. You have authors and speaking events all over the country, correct?
We do. We encourage people to find their voice and speak. In fact, I've got a new book that just came out called The Speaker's Edge. It's about turning your part-time hobby into a full-time passion and speaking from stage. And now more than ever, had we known a few months ago before the pandemic, we would have bought stock in Zoom. Zoom is this web-based platform where you can do company meetings, business meetings, personal meetings with family members, business partners, or friends around the globe, up to 100 people. And that stock was through the roof. We would be have a boatload of extra money there. But speaking really opens a door. And so even like with your book on positivity and Thought Talk and everything you're doing on leadership, it's about finding a space, finding your voice, carving out a niche, looking at saying, what am I good at? What have I been doing for the last 30 years? We just talked to a police officer in Anaheim, and after 30 years on the force, he's going to retire. And so we're ghostwriting a book for him on annuities because he wants to be the annuities guy. He doesn't want to be the police officer that talks about defund the police on the news, even though he's well qualified to do that. But you know what? He says, I want to be the financial guy. I want to get all these 401k rollovers from all my buddies that are retiring from the force.
Yeah.
So, and a book can help do that. And so with his speaking, just like you, because you're speaking everywhere, tie the topic into the keynote, into the workshop, and then launch your podcast.
Well, speaking of the police officer wants to be in financial, that's fulfilling his dream. So
Yeah.
you help fulfill that dream. But not only are you the CEO of these companies, you're also a speaker and author yourself, right?
I find a lot of passion in speaking because it's, one-to-one's great, but one-to-many can affect so many more people. It's amazing. We'll go live on Facebook, right? And then we'll have people from Australia, people from Africa, people from Europe that are watching the broadcast. Just like your podcast here, there's no limit anymore. It used to be, you had to have a static phone line. You had a party line, first of all. Technology is great. I remember growing up on the farm like you in Oklahoma. And if you had an emergency or something, the local ladies would be on there gossiping, and you would say, we've got an emergency, we've got to call the ambulance, and you would have to wait to get an operator, and you'd actually talk to an operator. So technology's really changed, and the beauty is, because readership is up globally, it's a really noisy space, but if you do it right, you can connect with people that truly need what you have.
Speaking of technology, you're all over social media. You have workshops. You do highlight speakers and authors
Yeah.
and so forth. So tell us a little bit what all you have on, what's all going on with your social media.
Well, I realized when I was 39 and a half, Claude, I had made a bucket list about a decade before. And one of the items on that bucket list was to run a marathon. And I realized I had 6 months. And at that point, I could not run a mile. I couldn't even run a block. And so that first day I went out, I thought I better start training. And I literally ran a block and I was out of breath. And so the next day I ran a block and 2 mailboxes and I was out of breath. And I realized if I'm going to run this marathon before I'm 40, I'm going to have to join a running group. And sure enough, I mean, this was wintertime in Oklahoma. It gets cold at 5 a.m. on a Saturday morning. You don't want to get out of bed because it's freezing out there. But knowing that if I didn't show up, I was going to disappoint and let down my 30 friends that I'd committed to run this marathon. Right. The Oklahoma City Marathon and the Tulsa Route 66 Marathon. And you're supposed to give yourself a year. I only gave myself 6 months. So it was very painful because I had shin splints. And but I couldn't have run the long training runs without my friends encouraging me and being there with me because they had all run marathons before. And it's the same way with writing a book. 90% of Americans want to write a book. Only 5 or 10% ever do. But those that do plug into a group where they get coached, mentored, and trained. So what we do every other month is we start a new online group called Write Book 60 Days. That's Write with a W, book60days.com. You can go there. It'll forward you to a Zoom registration link. You can register for our next free webinar. Depending on when you launch this, the next one starts August the 6th. And you can plug into a free webinar for the next 60 days if you're committed to write your nonfiction book. And we'll take you through with a group of authors around the world. And it will have the accountability and then give you the steps to coach you through that through a Facebook group and through private one-on-one. It's been a lot of fun. We've been doing this, and we have about a 55% success rate on getting people published over the last since the pandemic. And we've got the rest of those authors, about 85% of them are on schedule to be published by the end of the year. So it's
That
pretty
sounds
successful.
really good. And you also do your spotlight on authors?
Yeah, so the author spotlight is just a lot of fun because we have authors in South Africa, we have authors in Denmark, and just all over the globe. You're here in Dallas. But the amazing thing is with the internet, based on keywords, somebody's talking about HR, somebody's talking about banking and regulations in banking in the pandemic, and they talk about that in their book and speaking from stage. Whatever it is, I mean, with you, it's retiring from construction management, teaching leadership, communicating, learning how to listen. What's your sweet spot? Ask yourself, how could you add value to people based on your expertise with something you already love speaking on, something you already love doing workshops on, and creating a book is a win-win. In fact, you might know this because I've told you, is we've had a lot of our authors in the pandemic convert their book into a digital course. And what better way to reach people? They've got a digital course, you've got your book, you got your keynote, you've got your workshops, and a mastermind. So you're giving your target market an opportunity to find you and engage you all over the globe, and it's just a win-win.
Yeah, that's you're putting a lot of opportunities out there. And now you just started a new one, your popcorn.
The author popcorn. Yeah, we had a lot of authors from around the globe, particularly on the East and West Coast, that really were feeling isolated. Here in Texas, we're a little more free to drive around. It's not as restrictive. We've got a little more open space to network and to do events and social distance and whatever. But a lot of our authors from Connecticut to New Jersey were feeling pretty shut in. And so once a month we said, what if we just did author popcorn, and we're going to do a back to school special the first Friday in September, and very excited about that. And so every month's going to be a different theme, supporting authors, supporting what they're doing, and hearing what they've got planned with their book and also with their book launch plans.
So, we've already covered lots of areas, but you got one more that you do. You do your scholarship program, where the cruise. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, we were fortunate enough recently through one of our ghostwriters to meet the former president of Paramount Studios, David Kirkpatrick. He's actually the one who found the Forrest Gump screenplay and made it a movie. And so this past February on the Story Summit cruise, we had the gentleman. One of the facilitators was the gentleman that wrote Sleepless in Seattle, Jeff Ark. One of the facilitators was Tab Murphy, the guy that actually wrote Tarzan, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Gorillas in the Midst with Sigourney Weaver. And I was teaching the nonfiction track for writers, and these guys were doing the fiction track for screenplay and for writing novels. But we do this several times a year. It's slowed down a little bit because of the pandemic, but just exciting, fun things that we're doing. You know, if you're an author, you're not alone. I was born a creative, and I know you were as well. We love to write, we love to create. But the best thing to really have the most impact, and that's what we all want to do, right, is touch lives and empower people and encourage people positively, which is one thing I really love about Thought Talk that you're doing. And so that's one of the areas. Everything can be found on michaeldbutler.com. That's my website. At michaeldbutler.com, you can find the latest writers workshop that we're doing. You can learn more about publishing a book. You can schedule a meeting with me to see if you've got a viable book idea, and I'll give you a free consult and we can talk about your manuscript.
So you touched on another thing, talking really about positivity. You also have a nonprofit that you've started, organized. Tell us about that. I really think that's great.
Well, you know, I've been watching the 1040 window for a long time, and the 1040 window is the most populated area on the planet that has the greatest amount of unreached people groups. And so we began to support missions over there that were rescuing kids from human trafficking, educating kids, feeding and clothing kids in these orphanages and these safe houses once they've been rescued from human trafficking. But not only that, Claude, also teaching them a skill, teaching them a life skill so that when they grow older and they age out of this program, they're not going to go back into trafficking. They're going to have a trade. They're going to have a skill that is useful in the marketplace. They're learning English, and they're getting spiritual training and teaching from the Bible, and they're being fed. And we've just been able to do some amazing things because these children that we're supporting through this mission and this ministry, they work 12 hours a day in the hot sun in the brick kiln factory, and it gets up to 120 degrees Fahrenheit in Pakistan. Primarily is where we're working. I go over there twice a year, and I make sure that everything is flowing smoothly. We're working with local indigenous missionaries and church planners there that are from Pakistan. You know, Pakistan is only 2% Christian, and it's 98% Muslim. And so there's a lot of opportunity there. Recently, we were able to help through our donors rescue even more people and to secure a building. So the long-term goal is to be able to own the own building, to have the church there and the safe house there. Right now they're renting. They own the safe house, but the school where they're educating kids every week, they're renting that. But just some positive impact that we've seen the growth and development happen over the last 2.5 years that we've been working with this group.
So then how would you contact that?
So at michaeldbutler.com, I've got a link there where you can click on 1040 Window Missions, and you can read a little more about it. We are a tax-deductible 501c3, so if you want to make a donation, it's going to go directly to the kids and supporting them and everything that we're doing for them to educate and feed them.
So, you know, there's a lot of potential writers and speakers out there. So what kind of advice would you give them to get started?
Well, I would say that's the first thing, is to get started. So the Chinese have a proverb, right? They said the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. And the second best time is today. You know, and some people feel like they've waited too long. You know, life happens. You know, you have to raise your kids. There's important things, duty calls, and you know, every night at midnight you get tired and you've got to sleep a few hours, right? So there are things like that that get in your way. But if you truly love writing, if you're truly passionate about it, set aside the same time every day. It's kind of like going to the gym, Claude. If you make a schedule, even if it's 15 minutes, go to your writing spot. Okay, what I found is I have to turn off Facebook, the computer, my phone, or I'll get all these notifications. I go to my office and write. But some people during the pandemic, they'll get in their car and drive to the lake drive to a park. If you have small kids and lots of dogs and disruptions at home, get into the habit of writing at the same time that day, even if it's not writing about the book, blogging about your childhood, about your life, blogging, writing poetry, whatever comes to mind. Be creative. Writing is like a muscle, and the more you exercise it, the more that muscle will grow.
Absolutely.
And so you'll find that chapters that used to take you 2 years to write, you can write in 20 minutes. And that's what we teach at writebook60days.com. I give you the formula that's helped me deliver 3,000 paid speaking events over the last 30 years of my life. I've been coaching speakers for 30 years, and now that I'm coaching authors on how to write the book, the formula is the same. If you want the 5-step formula, reach out to me. Let's schedule a one-on-one at michaeldbutler.com. I'll give you the YouTube video. I think it'll help you.
Okay, so in my book, Thought Talk, I talk about how to start your day positive. So you tell me what you do to start your day positive.
Well, I do. I don't set my alarm anymore, and I don't have to, because what I find is when you're driven and when you're motivated with a cause, you're going to wake up. And as long as I go to bed early, I go to bed at before 11. I try to go to bed before 11. I'm normally up by 4 or 5 every morning. And I just get really quiet. I love it because I go out and do my walking and running then, okay? And that's really my quiet time, my meditation. I put in my earbuds. I listen to some inspirational music. And sometimes I'm quiet. I don't have anything in my earbuds. But then I come back and write. I come back to my office, and I sit in front of the computer with my coffee. And for about 30 minutes, I write.
Creative.
I stay in creative mode. And the thing is, Claude, stay in creative mode while you're writing. Don't go into editing mode.
That's right. That's that's a hard, and as an author myself, that's a hard thing to do, because you'll finish a chapter and you want to go back and reread, but don't. Just move on, keep that energy flowing, keep that creative energy going, and then come back. Once you finish, you got plenty of time to edit. I spend as much or more time going back over myself as I did to write it. So get the information on paper first. That's for sure.
That's powerful. Yeah, absolutely.
So we that every morning, my routine is pretty simple. I'm like you. I don't get up by the alarm clock. I get up. I usually step out on my porch with a cup of coffee. I usually pray for a while. And then I get up, I do a little stretching, a little exercise, and then I get into the routine of making my bed and getting dressed. All these are positive steps. Before you ever go out that door in the morning, you're in a positive mode to get the day started.
Well, you said something very powerful there about positivity, because I still fight with, and I think most of us do, depending on our background and upbringing, negative self-talk. And it can be as small as, but you got to recognize it, notice it, and nip it in the bud. Even if you're self-critical and you hear the subconscious thought that says, dang, you didn't write yesterday, you're such a loser. If you have any type of negative thought like that, it will kill your creativity. Throw it down and forgive yourself and give yourself grace and say, hey, it's okay. I didn't write yesterday. I'm going to write twice as good today. And even if the inspiration stops at 500 words, if you can only get out 100 words or 500 words, pat yourself on the back and say, you know what? I wrote 100 words today. And that's 100 words more than I wrote yesterday. And it will begin to grow and grow and grow.
Yeah. So I'm the other way. I don't count words. I count pages. My goal is to write a minimum 5 pages a day, but sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 20. It just depends on how the flow comes.
I like that.
But I go to 5 a day is my minimum. So
that's really good.
Yeah, and so work
7 days a week.
5 days a week actually.
There
just
you
like
go.
Working.
John Maxwell, one of my mentors, has written every day of his life for the last 40 years. I heard him speak recently, and he said, you know what? I write on my birthday. I write when I'm sick. I write on Christmas. And his wife understands and accepts it. This is what he's going to do. So, but 5 a day, I probably end up doing about 4 or 5 a day. You got me beat there, because some days I don't do it. But 5 a day with 5 pages, you're definitely writing more than me.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Sometimes it's short stories. Sometimes it's, into one of my books. But yeah, I usually write something almost every day.
Well, sometimes I'll write something that's totally unrelated, and I'll just catalog it for later and think, well, maybe Maybe it'll be in my memoirs when I pass away.
Yeah, I got stuff I wrote 30, 40 years ago in a little old folder. I wish I had it all. I've lost some of it through the years.
And you've got songs you've written?
I've got songs, poems, all that kind of stuff.
That's awesome. Well, you're a versatile writer because you write fiction, nonfiction, and music. So it's pretty. Most authors can't do. You write lyrics.
Yeah,
There you go.
no music. Yeah. So, Michael, before we get off here today, I know you mentioned to get a hold of you on michaeld.com, but is there any other contact locations or?
Yeah, michaeldbutler.com and the company website beyondpublishing.net. If you want to write a book, reach out to me. Let's do a one-on-one. I'll give all your listeners here around the globe on Thought Talk what we'll do for you. We normally charge for a consult, but we'll give all of the listeners here of Thought Talk a free 30-minute consult about your book cover, whatever you want to ask me about as it relates to your manuscript, publishing, going bestseller, or launching a book cover and a title at michaeldbutler.com. Just click on my scheduling calendar, pick the time that fits you best, and we'll do a Zoom call anywhere in the world. And then, of course, beyondpublishing.net, you can go and check out all of our amazing books. We've published about 350 titles in the last 3 years. This is actually our 3-year anniversary this month.
Very good.
And so happy to have 3 of your titles, amazing books. I would encourage you to get all of Claude's books and share them with friends. And if you've got a book in you, give me a call. We'll help you out.
Well, Michael, appreciate you being here. You've been a great guest. And just want to remind everybody out there, do something positive today. Smile at somebody. Y'all have a great day.